Krishna 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna
So, read Srimad
Hare,
Bhagavatam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. So, we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 13, verse 33. Description of the descendants of Dhruva Maharaj. So, the issue was that when King Anga was performing sacrifices, then the demigods were not coming to take share of the sacrifice. So he asked the priest, why is it that, what have I done wrong that the demigods are not coming to take the sacrifice? And then the priest told King Anga that in his previous life he had committed some sinful activities. In this life you don't have any sinful activity, but in your previous life you committed sinful activities, and because of those sinful activities you don't have a son. So they are saying, O king, we wish all good fortune for you. You have no son, but if you pray at once to the Supreme Lord and ask for a son, and if you execute the sacrifice for that purpose, the enjoyer of sacrifice, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, will fulfill your desire. So he says you should pray to the Supreme Lord that you get a son, and then, Supreme Lord will fulfill your desire. So we are on 4:13:33. Tatha sva bhagadheyani grahishyanti divaukushah yadagna purusha sakshad apatyaya hari vritaha. When Hari, the supreme enjoyer of all sacrifices, is invited to fulfill your desire for a son, all demigods will come with him and take their shares in the sacrifice. Whenever a sacrifice is performed, it is meant for satisfying Lord Vishnu, the enjoyer of the fruits of all sacrifices. And when Lord Vishnu agrees to come to the sacrificial arena, all the demigods naturally follow their master, and their shares are offered in such sacrifices. The conclusion is that sacrifices performed are meant for Lord Vishnu, not for the demigods. So, although there are many different karma kanda section of sacrifices, in the Vedas there is a karma kanda section, and there are different sacrifices to different demigods to fulfill different desires. But in all those sacrifices, Vishnu is first invoked, and Vishnu is Prabhupada says, sacrifices are actually meant for Lord Vishnu. The demigods can give boons because they are empowered by Lord Vishnu. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, what is that verse? Where Krishna says that all the boons that the demigods are giving are coming from me. Yo yo yam yam tanum bhakta shraddhaya architum ichchati tasya chalam shraddham tani vidadam. Then the next verse he says, Sataya Shraddhaya Yuktas Tasya Aradhanam Ihate Labhate cha tatha kaman mayeva vihitan hitan. He says all this thing is coming. If you have some faith in some demigods, first Krishna says, I will make the faith steady, and then endowed with such a faith, you worship certain demigod, and they give you some boon, but those boons are coming from me. And he obtains his boons, whatever he wants, but Krishna is saying, but those are coming from me. So the demigods cannot give anything without the sanction of the Lord. So that's why we say ultimately everything depends on Krishna's sanction. Not a blade of grass moves without the sanction of the Lord. So everything that is happening by Krishna's will. Krishna's sanction has to be there. Now that doesn't mean that his sanctions means it is all good. Sometimes because the jiva wants something not nice, so Krishna is sanctioning. Okay, like Prabhupada's son wanted to put his hand in the fan. Prabhupada is saying, don't do it, don't do it. Then finally, because he was very stubborn, then Prabhupada sanctioned. Sanction means, okay, now you can put your hand in the fan. And he stopped the fan, like when it was rotating slowly, and then he put his hand, and then he got hurt. So Krishna sometimes reluctantly sanctions because we are very stubborn. And in that way, he also teaches us some lessons. Because we are adamant, we are very stubborn. So Krishna says, okay, this is what you want, take it. And then we get maybe hurt through it or whatever. And then we say, Krishna, I don't want, I'm done. So like that. That is what ultimately, this misery is also Krishna's arrangement to bring us closer to him. He doesn't like that we should go through this cycle of birth and death. Which father would like that his sons and daughters would be in difficulty? He doesn't like it. If he would want, he would close the material world forever. But what to do? Krishna is saying that, no, you desire, so I'm giving you this opportunity because you have desires. Without God's sanction, we can't fulfill any desires. The jiva is very desires, so many desires. So without God helping us, we cannot fulfill any desire. Although because of false ego, we think that I am the one who is fulfilling my desire by my own endeavor. But it is not true. Krishna, we are desiring and Krishna is providing the intelligence and everything. So in the Bhagavad Gita 15 chapter 15 verse, Krishna is saying, Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto mata smritir jnanam apohanam cha. So all the knowledge and all the memory and all the forgetfulness is also coming from me. If you want to forget the Lord, Prabhupada says, that's Krishna's will help you forget. And in one sense, in the material world, everybody has forgotten the position of God. And so, because we wanted to be in God's position, so God helped us forget His position. So, but then He is merciful also, so He is arranging situations for us so that we realize that no, it's not my position, it is Krishna's position. So like that. Okay, so then any comments anybody has, then can share. Tan stan kaman harir dadyad yan kamayate janah aradhito yathe vaisha tatha pumsam falodayah. The performer of sacrifices under karma kanda activities achieves the fulfillment of desire for which he worships the Lord. So, in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that He awards benedictions to the worshippers according to his desire. So we say man proposes, God disposes. The Supreme Personality of Godhead gives all living entities conditioned within the material world full freedom to act in their own way. But to his devotee, he says that instead of working in that way, it is better to surrender unto him, for he will take charge of the devotee. So Krishna gives full freedom. I mean that minute freedom to choose him or not choose him, basically. So, but for devotee, Krishna is saying, no, I will give the intelligence. That you should surrender to me. Dadami buddhi yogam tam. So Krishna will give intelligence to the devotee. That you should better it is to surrender to Krishna. And in this way then When the devotee surrenders to Krishna, then Krishna takes charge of the devotee. And if Krishna is taking charge, then the devotee doesn't have to worry. Why? Because Krishna is taking charge. And we are safe in Krishna's hands. Like the example is given of the kitten is very safe because it's in the cat's mouth. It's mother's mouth. So it's very safe. So when we are in Krishna's hands, then we are very safe. Krishna, we surrender to Krishna. Krishna, you take charge of my life. You drive the chariot of my life. I am giving the reins of my chariot to you. You drive. Then Krishna will guide. When we are not taking shelter of Krishna, then we are driving on our own, and then we are at the mercy of our karma. So Krishna is giving so many assurances in the Bhagavad Gita that you take shelter of me, then your karma will also not affect you. I will protect you. I'll protect you from everything. Don't worry. Don't worry. So, and taking shelter means, surrendering to Krishna. That is Sharanagati. Surrendering to Krishna means the 6 limbs of surrender. Accepting things that are favorable, rejecting things that are unfavorable. So like that. We can't immediately accept everything that is favorable because of our conditioning. Because of our conditioning, we are bound and we may not be able to accept everything favorable or reject everything that is unfavorable. But we keep trying and we pray to Krishna. We keep trying and we pray to Krishna. And then Krishna is already very eager to help. So, and have faith that Krishna is there for me, he will protect me. So these are internal consciousness like that. So that's surrender. What is the 6 limbs of surrender? What is the verse? You want to say the verse? Anukulyasya.
अनुकूलस्य सकल्प प्रतिकूलस्य वर्जनं रक्षिषीति विश्वासं गोपतृत्वे वर्णं तथा आत्मनिक्षेपकर्पाण्ये सद्विधि शरणागति.
So, even if we are not able to follow everything, but we have to develop the faith that what Krishna is saying is the best thing. And there is no truth apart from what Krishna is saying. So whatever Krishna is saying, so that faith when we develop, like yesterday we were reading that lecture by Gaur Govind Maharaj, that this little child had so much faith in Gopal. He was calling him for him. His mother told him, Gopal will help you. So he had so much faith. So we should have faith in Krishna's words, that yes, this is the right thing. Whatever they are saying, Krishna is saying is the right. And sometimes we may not have faith, but then we learn that no, after not keeping faith in Krishna's words and acting whimsically is going to give me trouble. So we can realize that, of course, in this material world we have come also, that's trouble. So, lot of trouble. So not accepting Krishna's direction and Krishna's care, Krishna's protection, then we wanted to become independent. So we put ourselves into trouble. In this cycle of birth and death, we are in trouble. So that is the whole thing, is to realize that, I should better be under Krishna's protection. That is the difference between a devotee and fruitive actor. Fruitive actor means karmi. The fruitive actor enjoys only the fruits of his own activities, but devotee, being under the guidance of the Supreme Lord, simply advances in devotional service to achieve the ultimate goal of life, to go back home, back to Godhead. The significant word in this verse is kaman, which means sense gratificatory desires. A devotee is devoid of all kaman. When Prabhupada says devotee, means pure devotee. So, a devotee is devoid of all kama, means all material desires for enjoyment. He is devoid of that. He is anyabhilashita shunya. A devotee is always devoid of all desires for sense gratification. His only aim is to satisfy or gratify the senses of the Lord. That is the difference between a karmi and a devotee. So, Atmendra priti vancha tara balikam, Krishnendra priti ichha dore prem nam. So, the difference between karmi and a devotee is that karmi wants to satisfy his own senses, whereas a devotee wants to satisfy Krishna's senses. So that is the difference between Kam and Prem. In Chaitanya Charitamrita it is said both are metals. Iron and gold are metals. Both are metals, but there is big difference in the value of those metals. So, like iron is like Kama and gold is like Prema. Or Prema is like gold and Kama is like iron. So there is a deep-rooted conditioning within all of us that by engaging my senses in sense gratification, I'll be very happy. That's what everybody's conditioning in the material world is. If I put myself in the forefront, either gross sense gratification or subtle sense gratification, then I'll be very happy. That's the deep conditioning. But Krishna says it's just the opposite. It will just give you misery. Yehi sansparshaja bhoga dukkha yona evate. Adyantavanda dukhatyanati shuramati buddha. So it is just going to give you misery in this cycle of birth and death. Of course, you may say there is pious sense gratification. There is pious sense gratification means it is like karma, which is according to the rules and regulations of the scriptures. But that pious sense gratification will also not will remain as mixed devotees. The pious sense gratification will not become pure devotees, like Prabhupada says here, Anyabhilashi. Because the pious sense gratification means you can go to the demigod situation. Demigods are doing sense gratification in a pious way, and they are also devotees of the Lord. But they are still in the material world. They cannot go back. They are mixed devotees, so they can't go back to the spiritual world unless one becomes a pure devotee. So they are also in the cycle of birth and death. So if we worship Krishna with material desires, yes, Krishna will give us, but then we will stay in this material world. That's what Prabhupada says, the difference between akama devotees and sakama devotees. But we can't become like pure devotees overnight. We can, as Prabhupada says, you can surrender in a minute. But generally, the conditioning, to get rid of the conditioning, takes some time, takes some some experience like that. When we go through that, then we can come slowly and gradually. Although we can come to it immediately, but sometimes, mostly, we are not that determined or strong in our consciousness. So it takes some time. But by chanting Hare Krishna, by reading Bhagavatam, by serving the devotees, then slowly and gradually we'll come to that platform. And through different experiences Krishna gives us in life also, then we'll come to that platform. Okay, so any comments on this verse? Say anything. Okay, so next verse. इति व्यवसिता विप्रास्तस्य राज्ञ प्रजातये पुरुदाशम निरवपन शिपि विस्ताय विष्णवे. Thus, for the sake of a king, sake of a son for King Anga, they decided to offer oblations to Lord Vishnu, who is situated in the hearts of all living entities. So the sages decided, now instead of doing this demigod worship, we will do Vishnu worship to get son for Anga. Anga got a son, but his son was not, he was a rogue. So he had to leave the kingdom. So according to the sacrificial rituals, animals are sometimes sacrificed in the yagna arena. Okay, such animals are sacrificed not to kill them, but to give them new life. Such action was experiment to observe whether the Vedic mantras were being properly pronounced. But devotees don't do all this kind of things. Sometimes small animals are killed in a medical laboratory to investigate therapeutic effects. All the medicines are coming after experimentation on animals. And it's very painful for the animals. But what to do? In a medical clinic, the animals are not revived. But in the yagna arena, when animals were sacrificed, they were again given life by the potency of Vedic mantras. The word Shipi Vistaya appears in this verse. Shipi means the flames of the sacrifice. In the sacrificial fire, if oblations are offered into the flames, then Lord Vishnu is situated in there in the form of the flames. Therefore, Lord Vishnu is known as Shipi Vista. Shipi Vista. Okay. So in medical laboratory, Prabhupada says animals are killed to, analyze the effects of the medicine like that. But in yagna, animals are killed, but they are given a new life. They're getting a new life because they'll chant mantras, and these mantras will actually promote them to a higher stage of life. So that is the difference of killing in the medical laboratory and killing in the yagna. They were again given life, so either they will again rejuvenate or... Okay. The medical thing is very we are using all the medicines, right? They are first tested on animals, mostly all the allopathic medicines, all this chemotherapy and everything. They first, before they release, the animals have to be subjected to all these things. So to become an animal in Kali Yuga is very difficult situation. Either you are in the slaughterhouse or in the medical laboratory. So many rabbits, so many frogs and all these things. In biology, you might have dissected a frog those times. It was very, very... I couldn't even see that. Still have very horrible memories of that. They'll bring the frog, so many frogs, they'll put it in a jar, then put chloroform on it. And then after the frog is half conscious, they take the frog out. Then they crucify the frog with all the 4 legs pinned. And then with the knife, Krishna, it's very difficult. They cut the frog open, and then you see the heart beating of the frog and all these things. Then you study all the different things. It's very, very, very difficult to see. So, anyway, you may say, well, without that we will not have any medicines and no doctors will be there. Yeah, so... But it's difficult.
Prabhuji, quick question. Hare Krishna. So, the medical trials are important. So, every life is equal. But if you... So why did they go for animals, Prabhuji? Because human intelligence is more superior than a rabbit or a mice or a frog?
No,
because there are some vaccine trials that happened in India before it got released. So people sign up for it, knowing the risks, and they get some benefits or something, I guess, if it works out. If not, they know the risk. But my question was around: was it really true you can revive a sacrificed animal using Vedic mantras?
Yes, it is mentioned here.
Really? Really? Okay.
I mean, many things like they could light a fire by chanting mantras. You know, like we may think, how is that? Arjuna is invoking all this Brahmastra and all these different weapons. He's just closing his eyes, he's reciting some mantras, and the weapons appear. I mean, we don't know how this. The power of mantra is like such strong, that now that science is lost. But we don't have to do that. For us, there is the Hare Krishna mantra, which is very,
Yeah.
very, yeah,
Mhm.
that's the most powerful mantra. It's the Maha mantra. And mantras, ordinary mantras have so much effect. So this Maha mantra will take us back home, will take us to the spiritual sky. It is so powerful. Like in Brihad Bhagavata Mitra, another book also, right, that mantra transports, right? We can hear from somebody who knows. He's chanting the mantra and ultimately he lands in Golok Vrindavan. Is that true?
Yeah, he was chanting mantras. Yeah.
Yeah, so depending on the mantra you chant, you can go to different destinations. So this Maha mantra, chanted properly, nicely, without offenses, will take us to Golok Vrindavan. So the power of mantra is like that. There's many things they can do. Yogis can do their mystic siddhis. They can do so many things. Even they can. Prabhupada says you can dip in a river at one point and you can emerge out at some other point, thousands of miles away in that river, like that. So yogis can do amazing things. You can be sitting in one place and you can extend your hand and get anything from anywhere. It's called prapti siddhi. From modern science, we cannot understand how this is happening, but the yogis have such siddhis. So there are many things. And if you read that book, there's a nice book, Journey, what is it? Journey Home by Radhanath Swami. And he meets so many different such yogis like that. And in the Kumbh Mela and other, they do such amazing things which science cannot explain, modern science. So there is a science to it also, this chanting of mantras and everything. There are subtle laws working. Like when we give Shraddha, right? How are the forefathers getting the prasad? So there is some science that by doing that. So yeah, sometimes it's difficult to figure out how this is happening. But it was happening in those times. So just as Arjuna was invoking weapons, those things were happening. Now we cannot do like that. We have to manufacture the missile in the Brahmastra. Prabhupada said is a targeted nuclear missile. So it will hit the target only. Like now we have nuclear missiles which are guided missiles. They will go and hit the target. So, but there is so much manufacturing going on in the industry and like that. And they could invoke mantras and they could have those kind of weapons before. So sometimes, it's difficult to put faith in these things because it's beyond our experience. So that's why it is considered also as mythology. Mythology means it's not true, it's some fairy tale. So many people believe like that, this is Hindu mythology. It's not,
Mhm.
it's a myth. It's mithya, it's false. Yeah, so like that they say. But Prabhupada wouldn't, after reading Prabhupada's books and coming, then we have to, Prabhupada is convincing us. Like we don't know so many things. So we should not doubt. Like science has also advanced so much now that in 12th century or 13th century, if somebody would talk about a device which can wirelessly communicate with somebody thousands of miles away, somebody would not have believed it in 12th century, 13th century, 10th century. But now we have cell phones, right? We can just, there's wireless, You just punch in some numbers and you can talk to somebody in India. So how is that possible? It is possible through science. So there was a different sciences at that time. They had other, they knew, which we don't know now. So we think in 12th century, 10th century, somebody said, oh, there will be a device people were using or will be using in the future like this. And they will say, no, no, what is this? This is a humbug. How is this possible? So it's like that. So first, we have to, we don't know anything, about spiritual subject matters. Even material, this is all material science, right? To invoke weapons and all these things by chanting mantras. So we have to admit that I don't know anything. So now the question is how can I put faith in these things? Because material science doesn't accept all these things. Even material science does not accept there is a soul also. There is no soul or something like that. So do we really believe all these things, that there is next life and the soul transmigrates? Of course, we have some evidences like past life memories and all these things, which can to some degree. So sometimes we see all these things, but then why doesn't everybody remember their past life? And so many questions are there. So ultimately, Shabda Praman. There is three kinds of evidences. One is the one evidence which you perceive with your senses. And then there is some evidence that you can make by inference, by logically. And then there is the word of the scripture. So word of scripture is described as the best praman, because our senses are imperfect and our mind is also imperfect. Our inferences may also be imperfect. The word of scripture is the word of God, and it is beyond all imperfections. So sometimes our senses and our mind may suggest or that things are not what the scriptures are saying. So, but we should have faith that that's why science also keeps changing, right? Every now and then they come up with a different concept and like that. Of course, science has given us so much. Why we put faith in science also? Because it has given us so much comfort and so many facilities, so many gadgets and so many different inventions are there, all made through scientific research. So that's why we tend to put more faith in material science than in this kind of things. And also, we can live our life if we study science and we can get a job and all these things. So, but with spiritual life, what will all these things? Who knows? This is true or not? Sometimes people have this. Like somebody was saying that they asked a devotee, what is the goal of life? He says, goal of life is to serve Krishna. And that person was thinking, Krishna? Who is Krishna? Krishna is existing, not existing. Who is this? What are you saying? Goal of life is to serve Krishna. Is Krishna is there or not there? Because they think like, all this, really, is it true? Is Krishna there, really? So we also may have some doubts like that. Does God really exist? And this cowherd boy is a god? This cowherd boy who's grazing cows in the field, just running here and there. When Indradumna Maharaj, when he went to a museum, Indradumna Maharaj is one of Prabhupada's disciples, he went to a museum and he saw Krishna's painting. I think it was Ras Leela painting. Krishna was having, with all the gopis, he was dancing. So he was very attracted to that painting, this blue cowherd boy. And then he asked the guard that, you know something about this? Then he said, then the guard who was guarding that museum, he said, oh yeah, this person is called Krishna and he's up in the heavens and he's having a nice time there. So like that. he was saying. So Krishna, this person, he's dancing in, and he has nothing to do. Actually, he's just enjoying. So that life we cannot conceive from here. Just like person who has lived in a cave whole life cannot conceive that there is life outside the cave. So similarly, we have been so accustomed to this material world and to this cycle of birth and death and all the struggle that we have started thinking that this is natural. This is natural for the soul. So, but there is a whole life beyond the cave, outside. So there is a whole life outside this material world, in the spiritual world, where there is no death, there is no old age, there is no disease, no birth, and you can be joyful forever. So Prabhupada says, sometimes when we come across this information like this, we think, it's not true, or we should actually become captivated by this information. Oh, there's a life like that where I can be like without any struggle and I can be happy forever. Then one should be captivated by this information and would want to desire to go there. That's what Prabhupada says. But sometimes we think, no, because we have lived in the cave, like the frog in the well, he has lived his whole life in the well. So he doesn't know that there is an ocean outside that is much bigger than his well. He thinks everything in terms of his well only. He thinks, oh, this is my little well of, 20-foot diameter or whatever. Everything is the whole world. So similarly, we conditioned souls in this material world. We have lived here so many lifetimes that we think this is normal. People also say it is natural to die. But if it is natural, then why is everybody trying to avoid death? If it's natural things, means you should like it. If old age is natural, it's naturally going to happen, but we don't like it. It is forced upon us. So then the question comes, why are these being things forced upon me? I don't like it, but why is this struggle forced upon me? Then you start thinking, and then that's called, Brahma Jigyasa. Okay, anyway, so that's so
Thank you, Prabhuji.
yeah. So Prabhupada is talking about, the scriptures are talking about the other world, that world. So, Tasmat Purusha Utthasto Hema Malya Amalambara Hiranmayena Patrena Siddham Adaya Payasam. As soon as the oblation was offered in the fire, a person appeared from the fire altar wearing golden garland and a white dress. So they were resuming their yajna. And then what happened? They put the swaha and everything in the fire. A person came out from the altar, fire, and he was wearing a golden garland and white dress. He was carrying a golden pot filled with rice boiled in milk. So rice, milk with rice. He was carrying a golden pot. The king was very liberal. I'll skip the Sanskrit. And after taking permission from the priest, he took preparation in his joint palms, and after smelling it, he offered a portion to his wife. So from whatever that came, that person handed over that golden pot with the boiled rice with milk. The word udaradhi is significant in this connection. Udaradhi. Dhi means intelligence, and udar means very broad-minded. Udar means very generous. So those who have broad intelligence. The wife of King Sunita, wife of the king's, that is Anga's wife, Sunita, was not fit to accept this benediction. Yet the king was so liberal that without hesitation he offered to his wife that the boiled rice in milk prasad received from the Yajna Purusha. So she was not qualified. I don't know what it means, but he gave her the... Of course, everything is designed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As will be explained in the later verses, this incident was not very favorable for the king because he got a son who was not very good. Since the king was very liberal, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in order to increase his detachment from this material world, willed that a cruel son be born of the queen, so that the king would have to leave home. So Krishna arranged the situation in King Anga's life that he would become detached. So he gave a son who was very cruel. So, in order to increase his detachment from this material world, willed that a cruel son be born of the queen, so that the king would have to leave home. Sometimes it's so troublesome. The family life is so troublesome, which is Krishna's arrangement, like it happened with Prabhupada also. Prabhupada's, didn't have much family cooperation, means from his wife. So Prabhupada came to this point of being frustrated and he left home. And that was a benediction for all of us, because then Prabhupada, he started preaching more vigorously. As a Grihastha also he was preaching, but then he started preaching more vigorously and he had all the more time. And then he came to the West, and then he established ISKCON. And then he brought his American disciples back to India. And when the Indians saw Americans taking up Krishna consciousness, they were impressed. Oh, these Americans, they have everything. They are taking up Krishna consciousness. So Indians took up Krishna consciousness, seeing the Americans. And so then the Krishna consciousness movement flourished in India. So all this would not have happened if Prabhupada had not left his family and come to the West and preached like that. All the situations happened so that we are all in Krishna consciousness now, because ISKCON was established everywhere, all over the world. So materially it may be a setback, but that setback was very spiritually very good. Sometimes material setbacks are good because that will make you detached from material entanglement, and it will bring you closer to the Lord, and you can devote yourself to God more. Like Prabhupada, he says this was Krishna's special mercy. He took away, his business collapsed and he became very poverty stricken and like that. And he was quoting this verse, right? Which verse he was quoting when he was...
Yasyahamanagraham harishe tadhanam shne tato dhanam tejante asya svajana dukha dukkhitam. And if Krishna shows a special mercy, then he takes away everything.
Yeah, Hari means one who takes away our material desires. So if you take away material desires, then you have only desire to serve God. That's all. There is no material desire. So the material desires prevent us from dedicating ourselves fully to God. So Krishna takes away all the material desires. He's Hari. Hari means one who steals. So how he takes away? Well, he makes us realize the futility of material desire. He gives us realization. And sometimes through situations in life also. He gives us realizations. He gives us intelligence about the futility of material life. So then one understands more and more and says, what am I doing, with my life? Why don't I dedicate my life to Krishna? Like Prabhupada told Bhakti Charu Maharaj that you have been trying to enjoy so many lifetimes. It is all futile. But still you are not satisfied. Why don't you give this life to Krishna? So he was also telling about the futility of material life when he told Bhakti Charu Maharaj that you have been trying to adjust your material situation. It never worked out. It will never work out. Why don't you just do Krishna's work in this life fully? Just dedicate. Now, Of course, as a family man also one can do. It's not like that. But ultimately, we have to, whichever ashram, whichever whatever we are, we have to fully dedicate ourselves to Krishna. That's the thing. And Krishna's service. Now, that doesn't mean we give up our job. We can do our job and give all the money to Krishna and be maintained. Then how will we maintain? Yeah, we can use some to maintain ourselves. Give everything to Krishna. Of course, I'm saying that, but that is how. Everything for Krishna, nothing for me. Ultimately, that is the Rajavasi's consciousness. Everything for Krishna's pleasure, nothing for me. Gopis are like that. So that kind of surrender, and that's very high. So you don't think about what will happen to me if Krishna. I will give Krishna pleasure. That is the main thing. What will happen to me, I don't know. That Krishna will take care whatever he has to do. But my thing is, I have to give. That is very high consciousness. I'm speaking, but this is the highest consciousness. I don't care about what will happen in my life. I will serve Krishna fully. Then whatever he wants to do, aslishyava padaratam pinastumam adarshnan marmahatam karutuva yatha tathava vidadatulam patho mad prananathastu sevanam. Of course, I'm nowhere there, but we want to come. If we are in this consciousness, this is so nice. Like, I mean, if we can reach this, that I can fully dedicate. So, and why we are not able to dedicate? Because we have so many other things. We think that this will give me happy situation, that will give me happy situation. Those material desires are thinking, I will get a happy situation by doing this, I'll get a happy situation by doing that. So that's why we spend our time. And then we think if I become very famous, then I'll become very happy. Even as devotees, if we think like that, then that's material desires. So like that. So we have to come to the level of pure devotional service. As stated above, Lord Vishnu fulfills the desires of karmis as the desire. But the Lord fulfills the desire of a devotee in a different way, so that the devotee may gradually come to him. Sometimes Krishna fulfills our desires and we feel very grateful. Oh, Krishna fulfilled my desire. Let me dedicate more of myself to Krishna. That can also happen. So this is confirmed, and then you can think that yes, Krishna is so nice. Why don't I just surrender to him? Actually, he has fulfilled so many desires of our own, of ours. He has given such nice situation to practice Krishna consciousness. He has given us the human life. But those things we don't generally realize. And that already he has given such a nice blessing in the form of this human form of life, and the association of devotees and all these things, and the Shastra, and we have got the books of Srila Prabhupada like that. So just if we think about all the things we have, we'll become so grateful. He has given us food to eat every day. I mean, the food. How did the food come about? Not by any human being's arrangement, but by Krishna's arrangement. The sun is not any human being's arrangement. Without sun, there can be no vegetation. The water is not. We didn't manufacture so much water that is needed to make the plants. So, but if you think every aspect of our life is like carefully designed by Krishna. So in that way, thinking like that, we should, like, out of so many living beings, why I got so many living beings are in non-human species, right? Krishna gave me this human form of life so that I can connect with him. But we think, no, human life means now it is for better sense gratification. Then, so we try in that way. Because now with all our intelligence, we can do better sense gratification. We can eat nicely, we can sleep nicely. So many beds are designed to give us comfort like that. So we think that is the purpose of life. So now we can do better enjoyment. Yeah, I mean, we can keep ourselves comfortable, but we have to know the goal of life. That yeah, it is actually meant for higher thinking. Dharmena hina pashubi samana. So it is meant for higher thinking. That- But we get caught up in sense gratification and trying to make our situation in the more material world very comfortable. That is generally where we get caught up. Because everybody is doing like that. So that's how. But of course, a devotee can also try to make a situation comfortable, but he knows the goal of life. That this is not the goal of life. And how do we know that? By reading Prabhupada's books. So, as stated above, Lord Vishnu fulfills the desires of the karmis as the desire, but the Lord fulfills the desire of a devotee in a different way so that the devotee may gradually come to him. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upyanti te. The Lord gives the devotee the opportunity to make further progress, to make progress further and further, further and further, so that he may come back home, back to Godhead. So, Krishna will guide. Once you started Krishna consciousness, means you will reach perfection. Krishna will start guiding. You start chanting Hare Krishna, and then Krishna will start guiding. And how many lifetimes it will take to go back home, back to Godhead? It depends on how intense our desire is to be with the Lord, and like how much we want to serve the Lord, and the intensity of the desire. So, but there is some desire. That is why we are reading Bhagavad Gita, we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Right? There is some desire. We could be doing so many things in this time, in the morning. But we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, so there is some desire that, and the more the pure the desire, then it's better. So, okay. So, any comments?
Yeah, so this is one example of converting misfortune into fortune. Radheshyam Prabhu had a class where he gave this example of this king Anga. He got a bad son, and he chose to convert that situation to his benefit. Now he's becoming detached, and he'll go in the forest and do tapasya. Same thing happened with Parikshit Maharaj. He got cursed, but then he used that situation, give up everything and hear Bhagavatam. So as we were discussing yesterday, devotees, they transcend the situation, they tolerate it, and they look for other doors that are opening, that Krishna is showing them. Like he was saying about Prabhupada in Jhansi was trying to open the center, but they kicked him off, and then he tried other ways. He kept on trying, and finally he came to the West. So, I mean, bhakti gives us strength that we tolerate that situation, and then ultimately we have to become detached. So, if we ourselves don't become detached, then Krishna will create a situation to make us detached. It may seem difficult in that point, but that's to our advantage.
Yeah. We actually, in material consciousness, we think the more we indulge our senses, the more I'll become happy. That's how the conditioning is. The more I indulge my senses, but actually, the more I give up sense gratification, the more peace I will have them, and the more happy I will become. That's how spiritual life is like that. Bhukti mukti siddhi kami sakala ashanta. Krishna bhakta nishkama ateva shanta. So we are thinking like that. That yeah, and the more I indulge my senses, the more happy I will become. But of course, I have to indulge my senses. But the more I indulge my senses in Krishna's service, the more happy I will become. And the more I indulge my senses in sense enjoyment, the more unhappy I will become. So that is the shift in consciousness. That's very difficult to make because we are very deeply conditioned. So we have to go through some school of hard knocks, right? They say like that. So we have to realize it through some experiences like that. It doesn't have to be like that, but generally it's like that. So
And sometimes Krishna says, even if the child asks poison, I will not give him poison. I will induce him to take the shelter of my lotus feet, right? Krishna kahe ami bhaja. But in this case, Krishna has given him whatever he asked for. This was Vishnu's sacrifice. We say you don't go to demigods for asking for things. You go to Vishnu. But here he went to Vishnu, but at the result of that, he got a very bad son. But that led him to detachment. So sometimes Krishna fulfills our desires, and that fulfillment of desires does not satisfy you, gives you more difficulty, and that you become frustrated. Or sometimes Krishna will not fulfill your desire, even if you ask for so many things, because that's not good for you. That will frustrate you.
Yeah, that's like when you don't get what you want, that is also very frustrating. Right? That's also frustrating. And sometimes you get what you want, and then the thing doesn't turn out as you thought it to be. So that also frustrates. So,
Right. So, I mean, this material world is meant for frustration.
okay, yeah. Well, others are saying eat, drink, and be merry, right? That's the whole change in the Yanisha Sarva Bhutanam Tasyam Jagrita Samyami.
Tasyam jagrati bhutani sanisha pashitam.
Yeah, so it's a completely different concept. The spiritual life, this whole thing is. If you ask them, eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow you die. They will say like that. And then we are saying, no, no, this is all suffering. So completely change. It's of 180-degree shift. So that's very difficult to make that shift. But Krishna is trying to help, is helping us. Prabhupada is helping us through his purports and like that to make the shift. And the more we make the shift and we realize, we experience it, then we'll think, yes, this is correct. What Krishna is saying is correct. So, because we can experience both the sides, this side and this side, and then we can say, oh, then we can compare and analyze. We can say, no, this side is better. This shift, this what Krishna is saying, this side is better. But sometimes, we may not have gone through the other side, and we may not be completely convinced that that other side is not good. Other side means indulging our senses and that is not. So then Krishna gets some arrangement. So like that. And yeah, as Premvilas Prabhu was saying that day, right? How the hospitals are very shiny, where inside there are so many patients in different situations. So just see that and then think about it. And mostly, as Bhaktivedanta Maharaj says, when you see an accident, you just pass by it. You don't think, oh, this can happen to me. Oh, you think, oh, better. I am not in that situation. They are in that situation. But we never think that, okay, I can be in this situation. So that is the effect of Maya. Correct, yeah. So,
Also, I mean, for a devotee, no situation is bad. I mean, he uses every situation to move closer to Krishna. Like in this case, where he got a bad son, now he's becoming detached. So that's why we say Dvaita Bhadra Bhadra Gyan. A Manodharm, a Bhala, a Manda, a Shabram. We evaluate things in terms of materially, oh, this is good thing happened to me, or this is bad thing. But actually, it's all illusion. If something is taking you closer to Krishna, that is actually good. So if a distress comes in your life and that takes you to surrendering to Krishna, that's actually a good thing that happened.
yeah, anything that brings you closer is good. But at that time, like King Anga must have been so frustrated, right? That the son is like, so sometimes you have to go through the pain. So, oh, my son is so a rogue, and when you're going through that pain, it is very troublesome also. So, like you get some disease and then you have to go through this pain. I was speaking to one devotee and he was saying, yes, I'm actually experiencing the disease, so I can understand what it is. So, like that. So, till we don't have any experience like that, generally we don't feel that much. But intelligent people, they learn from others' experience. They don't
Yeah,
have
because having a disease, it becomes difficult to chant or go in the devotee association, go to the temple if somebody is bedridden in a disease state. So not that, but they can be Krishna conscious definitely, but it becomes difficult.
And that is what actually the hospitals and so many things are. So many people are there. It's all full. He was saying that he admitted a 40-year-old lady with ovarian cancer, and it is all over her body, something like that. So for doctors, it is like daily misery they see. So it's very easy to.
No previous history, suddenly it came up for her. I mean, if it happened for her, it can happen for us, anyone.
That's why all the time you have now is the time we have, right? So we don't know how life situation can change. So there has to be an urgency.
So we should not wait for a diagnosis, somebody telling us, "Oh, you have cancer," to become serious. We should become serious right now because we are in a dangerous place.
As if we already have the disease. Or it is there, it is dormant, right? So as if we already have.
Correct. It
That's
has not been diagnosed yet.
correct. So that's Bhaktitir Swami says there's a whole book about this, die before dying. So that concept is that uh, yeah, give up all your things that are not necessary, really, and just do what is necessary in this human form of life. So read one or two things. Die before dying. Just as there is life, there is death. Someone or something takes birth, grows, stays for some time, deteriorates, and dies. Another name for birth is death. You cannot have one without the other, meaning that when someone is born, someone will soon die. And it is soon only. From Brahma's point of view, our 100-year lifespan is nothing. So it's like soon. Just as we see an ant and we say, oh, ant lives only for a few days, oh, it's soon going to die. From Brahma's point of view, it's like that. And when someone dies, someone is soon born. Everyone and everything is in its normal state, wants to live as long as possible, eternally. Eternality, however, is not associated with matter. So body is in the body. Body can never be eternal, but is a spiritual affair. Death to matter and to our material bodies is inevitable. But if we master the science of dying before dying, master the science of dying means if we become Krishna conscious, very fully Krishna conscious before the dying, then we will connect with that which is eternal. Means we'll go to the eternal world. Our soul and its home in the spiritual world. After all, death is to remove everything false and secondary. So if we can become fully Krishna conscious, we will conquer death. As Dhruva Maharaj stepped on the head of death and boarded the plane back to Vaikuntha. So we can conquer death. Of course, in one sense we will die because for everything that is born, that is, we have to quit the body. But after this, we have conquered means after this there is no more death. There is no more death because there is no more birth in the material world. My mother often used to say, "Give me my flowers while I can still see them." As a child, I thought of it as strange, but as an adult, I saw it as a sign of wisdom. My mother understood the body to be transient and she celebrated life, the now, realizing one must show their love and affection for life at every moment. Means we should show affection to others while they are alive, because, and that affection means giving Krishna to others and bringing them closer to Krishna and taking care of them like that, their needs. But the real need of everyone is Krishna. Everyone is looking for Krishna. So then material needs are there, obviously, related to the body, that one has to help also. But the real need of every soul is to connect with Krishna. So we can spend our time in helping everyone to connect to Krishna. That is called preaching or sharing Krishna consciousness. And that's very pleasing to the Lord. Our life or the lives of others will be taken away in the near future. If we live with proper preparation and detachment, we'll master the science of dying before dying to connect with the soul and its home, the spiritual world. After all, death is to remove everything false and secondary. When we die, before dying, we put first things first. The activities that nourish our souls and help us detach from the illusion and confusion of our material culture are our priorities. Since we know that life is meant to prepare for a glorious death, so we should be prepared. We can live each day as if it is our last, because one day it will be right. We don't know that will be. They say live your life as if today is your last day, because one day you will be true. One day it will be correct. There is no time to waste on irrelevant, superfluous activities. Means the whole effort should be to change our consciousness. Even when we must give time to somewhat superficial things, it must be done in a way that enhances the primary significant involvement. So even if you have to do something, superficial things we have to do, but that should help us, like we say, horizontal duties should help us in our vertical duties with Krishna. If we live with proper preparation and detachment, the horizontal duties should not distract us from our vertical relationship. If we live with proper preparation and detachment, we'll master the science of dying before dying to connect with the soul and its home. Detachment means I'm ready to go, right? I mean, I have nothing here, no lingering things here that I'm thinking that I have to accomplish. I'm ready to go. Because the lingering desires for this here then will bring us back. Because Krishna will give us whatever we want, desire. So in that way, that is why, that's how, as life progresses, one gives up all these lingering desires, and he may do his duty, what he has to do, but he's ready, he's preparing himself for the inevitable death. So just like we prepare for the exam. So if we live with proper preparation and detachment, we'll master the science of dying before dying to connect with the soul and its home, the spiritual world. After all, death is to remove everything false and secondary. There are so many offenses that can be made in devotional services. These offenses are our greatest enemy. Devotional service is extremely potent, but offenses can stagnate our spiritual growth and can even destroy the devotional creeper. Offenses are activities that redirect our consciousness back to previous sinful life or which serve as barriers to our unfoldment. Offenses are like a town courier who delivers an urgent message designed to distract us from our important activities. When we stop making offenses, we'll live with proper preparation and detachment. Of course, offenses are also made because of anarthas in the heart and envy and all these things is the cause of offenses. So that also will be eradicated by chanting the holy name, by devotional service. So ultimately, devotional service is the answer to everything. We start our devotional service in an offensive way, nam aparad. Then as we endeavor, try, and then slowly it will become Namabhas, and will become Shuddhana. Will master the science of dying before dying to connect with the soul and soul, the spiritual world. After all, death is to remove everything falls in. So like that it goes on. Okay. Can stop here. Okay, let's read what happens. Although the queen had no son after eating that food, so she ate that rice, boiled rice, which had the power to produce a male child. She became pregnant by her husband, and in due course of time, she gave birth to a son. Among the 10 kinds of purificatory process, one is Pum Savanam, in which the wife is offered some prasad or remnants of foodstuff offered to Vishnu so that after sexual intercourse with her husband, she may conceive a child. The boy was born partially in the dynasty of irreligion. His grandfather was death personified, and the boy grew up as his follower. He became a greatly irreligious person. The child's mother, Sunita, was the daughter of death personified. So, generally, the daughter receives the qualifications of her father, and the son acquires those of the mother. So, get qualities based on the Prabhupada is saying. So, according to the axiomatic truth that things equal to the same thing are equal to one another, the child born of King Anga became the follower of his maternal grandfather. So the son inherits the qualities of the mother, and she was the daughter of death personified. So, according to Smriti Shastra, a child generally follows the principles of his maternal uncle's house. So, your mama. Naranam Matula Karma means that a child generally follows the qualities of his maternal family. If the maternal family is very corrupt or sinful, the child, even though born of a good father, becomes a victim of maternal family. According to Vedic civilization, therefore, before the marriage takes place, an account is taken both of boys' and girls' families. If according to astrological calculation the combination is perfect, then marriage takes place. Sometimes, however, there is a mistake and family life becomes frustrating. It appears that King Anga did not get a very good wife in Sunita because she was the daughter of death personified. Sometimes the Lord arranges an unfortunate wife for his devotee, so that gradually, due to family circumstances, the devotee becomes detached from his wife and home and makes progress in devotional life. It appears that by arrangement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, King Anga, although a pious devotee, got an unfortunate wife like Sunita and later on a bad child like Vena. But the result was that he got complete freedom from the entanglement of family life and left home to go back to Godhead. So, alright, so this is. So it was like a unfortunate situation, but in that unfortunate situation was a good fortune of. So, okay. We discussed that. Okay, we'll stop here. Any other comments? Any other thing you would like to share, anybody?
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. It was a nice.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
We can read Chaitanya Leela Prabhu for some time.
Can read? Okay. 8:30 you can read. What we were reading? We were reading in Chaitanya. We're reading about in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, right?
Ante Leela, I think.
What was the pastime about?
Is it Ecstasy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Ante Leela 18.1 to 121 you pasted. He's jumped into the sea, fisherman caught him.
Oh, yeah. Okay. In the brilliant autumn moonlight, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mistook the sea for river Yamuna. So Mahaprabhu, everything reminds him of Vrindavan. Greatly afflicted by separation from Krishna, he ran and dove into the sea and remained unconscious in the water the entire night. In the morning, he was found by his personal devotees. So he went into the sea and he was unconscious there the whole night. In morning, they found him. May that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the son of Mother Sachi, protect us by his transcendental pastimes. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. All glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, glories to Nityananda Prabhu, glories to Advaita Acharya, and all glories to all devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. While thus living at Jagannath Puri, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu floated all day and night in an ocean of separation from Krishna. So he was always in love of God. During a night of the autumn season, when a full moon brightened everything, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wandered all night along with his devotees. We read all this. He walked from garden to garden, seeing the pastimes of Lord Krishna and hearing and reciting the songs and verses concerning the Ras Leela. So he was, night time he was walking with all the devotees. He sang and danced in ecstatic love and sometimes imitated the Ras dance in emotional ecstasy. He sometimes ran here and there in the madness of ecstasy and sometimes fell and rolled on the ground. Sometimes he became completely unconscious. When he heard Swarup Damodar recite a verse concerning the Ras Leela or he himself recited one, he would personally explain it as he had previously done. In this way, he explained the meaning of all the verses concerning the Ras Leela. Sometimes he would be very sad and sometimes very happy. To explain fully all those verses and all transformation that took place in the Lord's body would require a very large volume. So as not to increase the size of this book, I have not written about all the Lord's pastimes, for he performed them every moment of every day for 12 years. I think we read quite a bit of this, right? I thought maybe this is all sounding very familiar. Maybe I didn't bookmark it.
Yeah, I was not in the class at that time, so I don't know.
Okay. As I have previously indicated, I am describing the mad speeches and bodily transformations of the Lord only in brief. If Ananta, with his 1000 hoods, tried to describe even one day pastime of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he would find them impossible to describe fully. So the Lord's pastimes are so numerous. If Ganesh, Lord Shiva's son, and the expert scribe of the demigods tried for millions of millenniums to fully describe one day of the Lord's pastimes, he would be unable to find their limit. So Lord is unlimited, his pastimes are also unlimited, his power is unlimited, so everything about the Lord is unlimited. Even Lord Krishna is struck with wonder at seeing the transformation of ecstasy in his devotees. And we would think, how did Krishna get so much power? Well, that's not like we become powerful by so many things in this world. So even Lord Krishna is struck with wonder at seeing the transformation of ecstasy in his devotees. So when Lord Krishna sees that others are relishing devotional service, he becomes awestruck. Oh, this person is getting tears in his eyes. Ecstatic love of Krishna makes Krishna and his devotees dance. And because Krishna can do anything, he can take the role of anybody. Like he took the role of a cowherd boys, right? When Brahma stole the cowherd boys, then he became the cowherd boys. And he was acting just like the cowherd boy. So he can do anybody's role perfectly. We have to imagine how they should. And we cannot take anybody's role. Krishna is like a dwarf trying to catch the moon in the sky. As the wind can carry away but a drop of water in the ocean, a living entity can only touch a particle of the ocean of love of Krishna. So even little bit nectar drop we get from this ocean of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, then we'll be very joyful. Just little drop. Like in Vaishnav Thakur it says, Tumi kripa kori shraddha bindu diya deho Krishna nama dhane. A little bindu, a drop of faith. Though you have so much faith in the holy name, if I can get one drop of faith, then by your mercy. So little bit, prashada leshanu grihita evahi, even slight race of mercy, then life is perfect. Endless waves arise moment after moment in that ocean of love. How could an insignificant living entity estimate their limits? So it is like a very big ocean, love of God, without any shores and without any bottom. Only a person on the level of Sarup Damodar Goswami can fully know what Lord Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tastes in his love for Krishna. Because she is Lalita. Lalita knows the mood. Of course, Manjaris also, right? Manjaris feel actually more, right, than what the gopis feel. Huh?
Yeah, Manjaris are feeling what Radharani is feeling. Yeah, because of their unconditional service to Radharani.
So when Radharani experiences emotions, the Manjaris also experience the same emotions. So, okay. When an ordinary living entity describes the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he purifies himself by touching one drop of that great ocean. If we read about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastime, we are purifying, we just get little bit from that great ocean. Thus all the verses about Ras Leela were recited. Then finally, the verse concerning the pastime in the water was recited. What was that pastime in water? That is Kalia, looks like. As an independent, or maybe it is his sports in the Yamuna. As an
Ras Leela.
Ras Leela. It says, okay, then finally the verse, okay, that is separately, okay. Now, as an independent leader among elephants, enters the water with its female elephants. Krishna, who is transcendental to the Vedic principles of morality, entered the water of Yamuna with the gopis. His chest had brushed against the breast, brushing his flower garland and coloring it with red kumkum powder. Attracted by the fragrance of that garland, humming bees followed Krishna. Like celestial beings of Gandharva Loka. In this way, Lord Krishna mitigated the fatigue of the Rasnas. Okay. While thus wandering near the temple of Aitota, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu suddenly saw the sea. So he was wandering and he saw the sea. Brightened by the shining light of the moon, the high waves of the sea glittered like the waters of the river Yamuna. So he was thinking this Yamuna in moonlight. Mistaking the sea for Yamuna, the Lord ran swiftly and jumped into the water unseen by others. Falling into the sea, he lost consciousness and could not understand where he was. Sometimes he sank beneath the waves and sometimes he floated above them. The waves carried him here and there like a piece of dry wood. Who can understand the dramatic performance by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. It's 8:30.
8:30. Okay. Stop here. Thank you. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, then with me.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.